welcome. You're watching The Date with me, Abha Bakaya. Today we're dining at Frangipani at the Trident, Nariman Point, and we're here to meet none other than Yash Birla, someone who's really come of age both personally and professionally. Today we find out what exactly makes Yash tick. Yash Birla was forced to take over the group's businesses at the young age of 23 after the unfortunate demise of his family. He took over in the middle of a restructuring process and at a time when a lot of the senior management had been asked to leave. Slowly and steadily, he began the process of realigning the group businesses and divesting the ones that weren't working. Today, with the most difficult part behind him, he's betting on new areas of growth like wellness and education that will be game changers for the Yash Birla Group. Yash is also more popularly known for his obsession with health and fitness. He always takes care of his body, enjoys dressing well, and loves to shop. That, he says, is his only one vice. For someone who hardly eats out, Frangipani at the Trident, Nariman Point is a pleasant exception. The chic contemporary design of the restaurant revolves around the central theme of a theatre of food, where preparation and presentation of food play the leading role at the 24-hour dining restaurant.
Actually, whenever I do go out, that's rarely, as you say correctly, I go out for the ambience because I am too much into health food, so I like to eat my home food. This restaurant has got a great ambience, it's got natural light, it's lively, it's energetic, that's why I come here.
Okay, and you do like health food. I mean, that's something that you're known for. So before we start or before we go further, give us some tips on how you sort of stay healthy and fit.
Basically, I'm a pure vegetarian, so I don't know if it's healthy or unhealthy, but I find it healthy. I don't drink at all, so that's definitely healthy.
And you've never had a drink?
I've never tasted alcohol, so I don't know what it tastes like.
Never been tempted?
Never, ever. In fact, been a little anti it, so
really?
I always stayed away. I mean, I have all my friends drink and it's perfectly fine if you do, but for me it's a no-no. So that's as far as my basic rules are concerned about health. I eat 6 small meals a day. Since I'm vegetarian, I have to have protein supplements.
Right.
So I have protein supplement made from whey, which is a milk compound. And then I have a lot of salads, soups, have some fruit.
Yash says he's so repulsed by alcohol that in a crisis he would rather eat non-vegetarian than touch liquor. Keeping it healthy, Chef was making a salad of baked goat cheese for Yash, since goat cheese is his favorite, and a salad of chèvre and rucola for me, as my weakness is feta cheese. I was still busy making notes on what was healthy and what was not, and was delighted to note that Yash indulges in peanut butter from time to time, when our conversation finally turned to what was happening at the Yash Birla Group. So talking about work, you've been doing a lot of restructuring old businesses on one hand, you've been tapping into new areas on the other hand, placing bets on new industries and businesses going forward. So right now, according to you at the group level, what would be unfinished business and what's the finished business, what's done and dealt with?
Okay, restructuring, so we are a pretty diversified group. That's how I inherited from my father, and I think the 80s were more where single companies were made of many different products, manufacturing products. So kind of the theory used to be hedge one product cycle with another. So if you have a textile and you have cement, each of these products have business cycles of ups and downs. So when one is up, the other one will hedge it and vice versa. I think towards the 90s and the new millennium, we moved towards more of a global economy where we more focus on a single product line and expand in that horizontally or vertically. Don't go into diversified products. So kind of restructuring happened in that way that we kind of structured ourselves to exist in products or companies we had long-term vision in. If there was no growth potential for say 10 years ahead, then those were kind of divested or they were restructured.
Is there also perhaps alignment also more perhaps with your personality, like getting into businesses that you're also, because I'll tell you why, because you're in businesses ranging from things that I would call unsexy, like auto, components and so forth.
I like that adjective.
Yeah. To, things as new age and popular at the moment, like wellness and so forth. So was there a move to perhaps get into more businesses where, you could put in your personal interest as well, or that wasn't a factor at play?
Well, let's say on basically at the surface level, not at all. Okay. Maybe internally what you say may be correct to some extent, but I always feel a businessman has to be slightly unemotional about your business. Okay. Let's say, yes, we are traditionally a more industrially oriented group, so we have auto components, steel pipes, machine tools, cutting tools. Unsexy, I won't say. When the auto component goes into a nice car like a Lamborghini, it becomes sexy. But the thrill of doing business is when whatever you're doing, you excel in it.
Most heads of businesses today have that ambition that drives them, right? So how does somebody who says that it's okay, we'll take what happens, where do you then get your drive from? What keeps you going?
No, your drive has to be there. In fact, never let your drive go down.
Right.
You have to continuously, persistently endeavor to achieve your goals. Never give up. Okay. What spirituality or the state of equanimity, as you may call it, gives you is that whatever the results of your actions, don't depend or don't fantasize about them, or don't depend on what the outcome would be. Okay. Right? So in fact, it makes you stronger, makes you more persistent, makes you learn from mistakes and not step back, you step forward. So your drive is in fact, according to me, multiplied.
So you don't get disappointed when something doesn't work out, you figure out why?
You go into it, you have to take ownership of it. Not that you say, oh, it was meant to be like that. You take ownership, you contemplate as to why it didn't work out. What were your mistakes? What could you have done better? And then you try again.
Do you think that you've done your bit with the group in terms of where you'd hope to get it?
No, never.
How would you rate your performance so far?
Never. I would always feel I have to perform much more, much better, and make it reach much higher than where we are today. And I'll have this feeling if you talk to me even after 10 years. Really? Because that's how it should be. You have to keep going ahead. You have to keep striving to move forward. And that strive should never go away till you are working.
Chef Joy has prepared for the mains. When we return, we talk more to Yash about the time when he first got into the business, all the initial struggles, and how he grew into the role that he's in today. Frangipani had the first wood-fired oven in the city and is known for its pizzas. Unhealthy for some, they had a special 7-cereal whole wheat pizza on the menu. So Yash said he wouldn't mind trying it. And that's what Chef has been busy doing right behind us, preparing a vegetarian pizza with cajun spiced tofu, asparagus and mushrooms, and serving it fresh and hot straight from the oven. Just as I asked Yash about his experience when he first took over the business after his parents passed away. How difficult was it for you personally? Was it a confusing period? Was it difficult? Was it overwhelming?
Of course, all these additives. I guess I went through all that. I was not like it was not like an alien surrounding for me. But yes, there was a lot of uncertainty, and there was a lot of because I was studying for my MBA in the United States. It was like one fine day you just leave your MBA and you come down here and you have to head this, or kind of look after this business empire. The other problem was like my father's management team he had. For some reasons there were some certain reorganizations taking place, and I think just 1 month before he passed away, he'd kind of given leave to most of his top management. So there were like hardly 1 or 2 of his trusted people around. So there were no real advisors to tell you about what the business was and how.
So who did you turn to?
Fortunately my family was very helping. The Birla family, they were like all there. Though like we basically are a joint family in culture and values, but the businesses we are all separate. So they didn't really know much about my father and his companies and what was going on. But they were there to help. So Mr. Aditya Birla, he was very kind enough, and like for 3 months I think he used to have meetings for me, for my companies, and conduct meetings himself, like talk to my managers and my executives and take from them the performance for the last month. So he was very helpful, and in that way I had a lot of burden off me. So I thought like at least he's there, and of course he was of great status, and business acumen is undisputedly the best. So I had a lot of I wasn't traumatized at what will happen with my decision making if it goes wrong. But I do feel that sometimes till you learn from your own mistakes and take your responsibilities yourself, you may manage things, but you won't move as fast ahead as you would want to, because then you're always governed by a lot of other factors. Because this one's doing this to me, they're already looking after some company, they have diverse opinions, so you get kind of flummoxed in the middle as to what you should do. So this kind of outside teams helping my companies went on for a good 8-9 years.
Did you also sort of get into that trap of feeling that
no, because I learned a lot. I learned a lot in that time, and but I do feel that the group, as much as it could have progressed, probably because of this odd management structure or unnatural management structure, probably didn't.
Do you? I mean, I know I know you're a very positive person, and I know that you're saying that you don't normally regret things, but wasn't there a moment when perhaps you sat there and thought back and you're just like, why is all this happening to me? In the sense, it's such a normal human reaction to have.
To be honest, no.
Really?
It sounds a little, I think, what should I say, by the book, but I don't get those feelings. Somehow that doesn't happen to me. I always, not that I don't come under pressure, not that I don't get emotional, but it's more of an emotional nature. So I would miss my parents, which I still do, as much as when they were here, when they just passed away. But that was more for emotional reasons, not for, oh, I'm alone and, why is this happening to me? That didn't happen.
Yash had picked whole wheat fusilli with a light arrabbiata sauce for his main course. And I had chosen an exotic sounding gorgonzola ravioli, homemade with mushrooms. It sounded promising. And both Yash and I had complete faith in Chef Joy's kitchen. We also had a crisp potato rosti as a side, which I was sure only I was going to eat. As the food was served, I got to asking Yash if his involvement in spirituality began post the trauma of losing his family, or whether it was something that he was interested in even while growing up.
For some reason, when I was as young as 11 or 12, I used to be very interested in our Indian scriptural books like the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita. So as a teenager, I read all Amar Chitrakatha, which is mythological, historical stories about our culture. But I also picked up books on Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, which was a bit strange for a teenager at that time.
Definitely.
It was not something very common. We would rather read Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
My friends read Hardy Boys. So I think there was an intrinsic desire to know more, which in a way was karmic. In a way it was life preparing me to deal with certain things which were going to happen. So I believe it's all destiny and God's will. So I leave it to that.
We talked a little bit about Yash's time with his family and what he was like when he was a teenager and how he's changed since.
In the middle and your teens, you can always go a little off track. But
and he says that with a smile.
We all go through it as parents.
What did you do when you went off track?
I don't really remember what. Actually, I was a very shy boy as a teen also. So I never used to really do rebellious activities. But yes, when my parents told me to do something, I'd try, and if I didn't believe in it, I would just persist and not do it. I was very introverted. In fact, they used to want me to be more extrovertish, and I used to talk less. So all those things I was...
Changed with time.
Changed with time, yeah. Changed with exposure, experience. Like now, as you can see, I talk a lot. So all those years of not talking I've made up for now, because now I just can't stop talking. I keep talking and I keep sermonizing, which is very bad, but I do it.
Good for us, I guess. Well, on that note, let's take another very quick break. We'll come back, of course, with dessert. Well, Yash doesn't have dessert, but he has picked something else that he does enjoy, and we'll find out a little bit more about him when we come back. Finally, it was time for dessert. We'd found a low-fat yogurt for Yash and my favorite part of the whole meal, the signature chocolate Volante at Frangipani. This chocolate mousse was completely irresistible, as was asking Yash about his relationship with cousins like Kumar Mangalam Birla. So is there ever any competition between cousins in the different Birla clans?
Never. I compete with myself. I never compete with anybody else.
Okay. You're very, very fond of your daughter. I mean, you have 2 sons and a daughter, and you have this, soft spot for her. I mean, they say that you even cry when you miss her. Is that, can you explain that bond a little bit? And don't the boys get...
No, I love all my 3 children very much. I'm a very family-oriented person, so I love children. I've always loved children. And they're all 3 equal to me. Our relationship with every child is different. With the daughter is very emotional. Yes, you're right. When I miss her, when I have to leave town for more than a week, I start feeling a little low because I'm not going to see her. That's me with her. And now she's growing up. She's 10. So I'm getting little, kind of panic symptoms. And now when she'll become a teenager, then probably I will not be spending as much time as I do today. And I can't do all the innocent games we play together. I spend a lot of time with her. The reason being, I think it's a little, again, heavy and little emotion. But my mom, I missed a lot after she passed away. And I always thought some essence of your family comes back as a female energy. So I used to, from when my wife was pregnant for the first time, I used to always pray that I get a daughter. When she really came, after a lot of, I'm pretty religious, so I went to a lot of temples and requested I want a daughter, I want that my mother's essence to come back into my life. It sounds abstract, but to some extent I feel that there's some blessing of hers has come back by the way of my daughter. So,
what's the one thing your children complain about you?
That I'm pretty rigid in my thoughts and pretty judgmental.
Really?
About things I believe in. Like I told you, no smoking, no alcohol, strict vegetarian. Cultured Indian spiritual life. I'm a little strong in my views on that.
So you wouldn't let's say your eldest is about 18 now, so would you allow him to have a drink?
I would hate it if he does. Nowadays there's no question of allowing or not allowing. They do what they have to do. But I would hate it, but fortunately, touch wood, he's not tasted alcohol like me. But you never know. If he does, I don't know how he'll react, but I would not like it at all. You
and your wife Avanti met in college, right? So you've been together now since your early 20s. Right? If you had to describe her in one sentence, how would you do it?
Wow. Is that the question you're trying to get me on? Down to earth, honest, and basically very trustworthy.
Is there ever any pressure in terms of living up to the Birla name's legacy? In terms of being a certain way because you're part of the family?
Yeah, that's something which I don't only pressurize myself, I put pressure on everything that is around me, whether it's my organization, whether it's my children. I feel that if you've inherited such a lineage, you have some obligation to certain obligations to be born into that family, and the kind of respect you get being born into that family, you need to conduct yourself in a particular way. So to me it comes, I won't say pretty naturally, but I'm always conscious of those things. So as I said, those things, give back to society, cultured, traditional, family oriented, it comes to me pretty naturally. But I become a little persistent when it comes to people around me. It may not come to everybody around me naturally, but I really sincerely believe in it, that my family's values, my ancestors' values, for which we are known for, we are not known so much for our being as industrialists or for the affluence part of it. We are known more for our cultural heritage values as a family and a traditional value. I really respect it. I really believe that that's the essence and foundation of every human being, and we should follow it to the best of our abilities.
Yash, thank you so much for being with us on the show. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to chat with you and to have a nice meal, healthy meal with you.
Healthy meal, as healthy as we can get here at Frangipani. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and enjoy our dessert now, and Yash his low-fat yogurt and my absolutely divine chocolate mousse. But we'll see you again next week right here on The Date. Do tune in. Thanks for watching.